So, just to get started, I mean, everybody has had something to say. Everybody has just said like one or two things about, their experience. And one core thing about this call that we're going to be going through is just to talk about several career roles. I mean, we have for products, we have Yami for products, we have Ladi for products marketing, we have Easy for content marketing, and Shay for data analysis. Whichever one that is your core focus, please make sure to ask questions. If you have questions, Favor is going to put a link in the chat box for you to just drop your questions on Slido. Make sure that you ask them questions. This is probably the only opportunity that you will have to directly ask all of our panelists the amazing questions that you have about your career and get you started. But just to get started, I'm going to ask Yami a question. Now, who is a product manager? That's like my first question. Who is a product manager? What would you say is the total embodiment of a product manager?
Okay. Hi, Anyola.
Yami, did you
Hi,
get that question?
everyone.
Okay.
Yes,
Hi,
yes. Can you
Yami.
hear me?
Yeah.
Oh,
Awesome.
all right.
Yes,
Yeah.
perfect.
Hi, everyone again. Yeah. So, who is a product manager? Do you know what's funny? I feel like every time I'm personally asking myself what my job is about. So
Yeah.
that's how that's how I don't know, do I say like how crazy being a product manager can feel sometimes. But yeah, maybe just to summarize it, a product manager, I think the first thing would be that you realize that a product manager is a generalist. In most cases, like maybe now there are few people who are beginning to have like specialized product roles. But I think the first thing I would say is a product manager is a generalist. And by that, I basically mean that they can do or they have to get involved in a number of things, right? But in a nutshell, the key thing would be that the product manager is someone who is focused on basically achieving business goals, identifying user needs, identifying opportunities, and working together with a team, right? That can be engineering, it can be design, it can be marketing content, but you're constantly working with different people in order to be able to satisfy, whatever need or whatever opportunity you've been able to, you've been able to discover rather. And there's always the focus of trying to balance between satisfying users, creating value for users, and then also capturing value for the business, right? So you're always in that middle or trying to balance user needs plus what success looks like for the business.
I absolutely love your response. And one thing I just love about it is the fact that you did not come out to say a product manager is somebody that embodies 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the job specification that people see on like job ads or anything like that. Now, just picking up from what you said, that a product manager is someone who is a generalist. I'm sure Ladi is going to say the same thing for product marketing without a single doubt, for product marketing. So I'm not going to ask him that question. I'm going to ask Easy. Now, Easy, what would you say is who is a content marketer? Now, I'm asking you because most times people see a role like, oh, I'm hiring for a content marketer, or, the idea of content marketers is content marketing rather is not something that is just so easily adopted. People usually just like to stick to maybe social media management or maybe digital marketing. So can you just say like in a nutshell, maybe like 2 or 3 sentences, who is a content marketer?
Okay, hi. So just for clarity, is it fine if I don't turn on my camera? Because I'm not in the best of cases with, okay, great.
Your
Before I say
voice
who,
is enough, course.
great, thank you. So before I say who a content marketer is, I'll give a little backstory. I never knew what a content market, I never knew anything about content marketing. I didn't even know the word existed until shortly after I started doing social media marketing at Patronize. Um, I knew about social media marketing. So throwback to when I was in uni, where I finished school in 2019 for context. Just in 2019, I knew that I wanted to do marketing, but I only knew about social media marketing. And I was like, okay, great. Like, social media, I like to create content. I'm very artsy. I paint, all of these things. I'm like, you know what, put all these skills together. I think I'll make a great social media marketer, right? And also just to keep myself, in school, I was now doing, freelance social media gigs here, right? Without like, proper fundamental knowledge. But I did that. So getting out of school and then starting a job at Piggyverse where I was a customer support intern, and then became a full-time staff, and then got promoted to become a social media marketer, right? After, my time being there, I was like, what am I going to do next? And I figured that I didn't want to do social media next. I think I was ready to, jump the gun and do something else. And then I started to do more research, and I started to get more knowledge, and you do a lot more marketing research. And then I was like, content marketing isn't bad. I think this is the next thing for me at the time, right? And that's how I pivoted to content marketing. I knew people who were doing, the same thing, talked to them, got a few advice from them. And then, when I left that job and I went to my next job, I then, like, before leaving to the next job, I started applying for content marketing roles, right? And then I got that role. So that's my story of how I pivoted to content marketing. So for context, I didn't know what content marketing is until I was actually ready to pivot. But yeah,
A lot of people are like that now.
yeah, I had to give that content because I know, it's not one of the popular. I don't think I won't say it's a popular role. I think people know, it's product
Not
marketing,
common.
media marketing, and yeah. So I just had to give that context in case there was anybody here who was in that same boat. But a content marketer is somebody who plan. So just like the word it says, a content marketer, the goal is to ensure that, the content that you're creating for whatever brand you're working with, or, whatnot, is actually meeting the business goals, right? So whether the goal for the time being is, awareness, or the time being is, revenue or what's not, right? It just means that your content definitely should be meeting that goal, right? So it's somebody who plans, researches, creates, distributes, and also analyzes content with the aim of, again, attracting and engaging potential customers, right? So their job role would typically be around creating blog posts, how-to guides, videos, infographics, white papers, long-form articles, and a lot more things like that. But also, depending on people's experiences, content marketers, also are expected to conduct market research and also analyze content performances. So those are also, part of what a content marketer does.
Thank you very much for that. See, you've allowed me to just create a basis for my next question. But before I go into the next question, I just want everybody to kind of just hold on to something that has been said both by Yami and both by Izzy. Value, right? There's so much to be said around, just the value that you have to offer. Because sometimes when people go into a new role, it's so easy to get distracted and say that, oh, this is what they are paying me to do, so this is what I'm going to do. You even forget that. I think someone once said that your salary is what you are paid for you to forget your dreams, or something along those lines. It's never like that. If you're someone who is very career focused, if you're someone who is very driven, that should never be the case for you, right? You should always know the kind of value that you're trying to offer. And part of that value is being like a generalist and being able to just chip in here and there and make sure that you are still chasing your end goal. Now, I myself don't know the difference between a content marketer and a product marketing person. We are always fighting in conflict. So I'm hoping that Ladi would be able to provide some clarity on that. Ladi, please just give us some insight. What's the difference between a content marketer and a product marketer?
So the context is very there's a clear separation of tasks or activities that's expected from both. Now, with a content marketer, the person would be responsible for producing content, placing this content, looking for content partnerships that the company can engage with, monitoring how well this content is doing across different platforms where they are being published, and then even ideating what kind of content would do well with our brand, what kind of content would our brand should our brand be producing that positions us well, that makes our brand go well, that perhaps educates our brand, that perhaps engage our brand, that perhaps inform our users or educate our users or engage our users or even activate our users. Now, with a product marketer, the conversation is different because beyond the content, the product marketer will be expected to look at it from the place of how are we getting users for our business? How are we getting users? How are we activating these users? How do we turn them from just people who have come to our product once or come to our landing page once to becoming our registered users? And then even if they've registered with us, how do we get them from that stage to do their first transaction with us or to give us their money for the first time? And beyond that, even after they've given us their money for the first time, how do we get them to come back again to give us another money of theirs? Beyond that, how do we get them to now tell their friends about us eventually? So the scope for a product marketing person is bigger than the scope of a content marketing person. A content marketing person is looking at some of these things that I described that a product marketing person will do from the prism of using content to do them. But with a product marketing person, product marketer, as some people like to call it, would do beyond that. It's a bigger scope. Bigger things are expected to be done. Multiple other channels are expected to be explored, from digital channels to perhaps digital ads. You'd have multiple channels differently. The scope is unlimited for a product marketing person as against a content marketing person. So there's like clear separation of duties or clear separation of powers, as people in politics and government would like to call it, between a product marketer and a content marketer.
Thank you very much, Claudia. I just want to reiterate that I told you people that the panelists that we have here, they are very knowledgeable. They pack the knowledge. They are here to give us a ton of knowledge. So if you're listening again, you're definitely sure to learn something really amazing. And it's also interesting to know that every single one of these roles, from product management, product marketing, content marketing, and data analysis, were all intertwined in some kind of way, right? And you know, at some point in a company, we're always going to have some form of interaction with each other. That could be a question, it could be a collaboration or something or thereabouts. Now, Shane, I have like a very, very important question for you. Now, data analysis is not something that a lot of people go into, right? Just like content marketing, it's not something that's so popular like that. So what would you say are the key skills that someone is supposed to have if that person is an actual proper data analyst? Like, what are the skills, the SQL or whatever? Talk to us.
Okay. I believe there are some foundations that are important for a data analyst, right? One thing is, and I always emphasize on this, is good Excel skills, right? Right now they're called you can call it VBA, right? So where you use Excel or Microsoft Office. It's called Visual Basic Analysis, right? And this is pretty much your Microsoft Office skills, right? That is the foundation, because as a data analyst, you pretty much just work with rows and columns, right? However, I realize now that to grow in that field, you actually need to develop some soft skills as well. I believe you need to be thorough, right? And you need to have a very high attention to detail, right? That is what typically helps, because if you don't do that, and if you don't develop those skills, data analysis involves providing figures, metrics to pretty much numbers to people, right? Could be a content marketer, for example, or a product marketer, right? Or a product manager, right? But you need to make sure those things are accurate. And for you to, I mean, it grows over time with experience. However, you need to make a deliberate effort to be thorough, right, in what you're doing. So yeah, those are skills that are quite valuable for a data analyst.
I just absolutely love how everyone is not so much touching on like the technical skills alone, but also mentioning like the core people skills that you need to have. Now, he said that you need to be very thorough. Coming back to you, Yami, I have like a very, very important question. Now, you said that a product manager is a generalist, right? Oh, well and good. That's amazing. I totally agree. Now, how do you think someone, or how would you advise someone to go from being a junior product manager to a senior product manager? What's that journey like? What are the things that they need to do? Just summarize like the idea of it for them so that they are aware of it. Because I mean, some people that are probably like junior PMs and have been there for a while. So give me an idea of what that journey is like.
Okay. So I think first thing I would say is for every role, right? One, there's the fact that there's some context that will be dependent on the organization that you're working with. For instance, if you're a product manager in an established or a matured organization, and you're starting out as a junior product manager, the level of responsibility that you might get assigned compared to if you're starting out in if your career is starting, within a startup, there might be some differences there, right? So I think that's one thing to bear in mind. But what I would say is the more your scope of work expands, right, that will pretty much speak to the growth. So for instance, when you're starting out in product, you might not necessarily be expected to have a good grasp of data, right? Like being able to generate insights from data, or being able to even instrument the data in the first place. And by instrumenting here, I'm saying that when you're building something, you're thinking about what exactly is the end goal that this product is expected for to help us achieve, and then how are we going to measure it, right? So when you're thinking about those kind of things, then that's also something that you'll probably be engaging your data analysts and engaging your engineers on, so that they're able to help ensure that they collect the data that you would eventually need to be able to perform whatever analysis you need to perform. Now, if you're just starting out, you might not necessarily have the expectation that you need to have like a very good grasp of data. But I found that if you're going to grow, right, move from being junior to senior, that becomes like a hard requirement. It becomes a very necessary skill for you to have. The second part would also be big picture thinking. So for most people, when you start out as a junior product manager, you would likely be placed on, say, a part of a product, right? For instance, imagine that you're hired in Zoom, right? So you're hired to work within, the Zoom organization. It's possible that as a product manager who's just starting out, your responsibility might just be, overseeing something as simple, or I shy away from using the word simple for any part for any part of a product, but it might be something as simple as the video settings, right? Like using videos for meetings. It might just be that that's all you're expected to handle, but eventually you will need to be able to think beyond just that segment, right? That section of video settings, to how exactly what's the vision, right, for this company that I'm a part of? What are like the bigger goals, and then how do the little things that I'm doing, right, how does it add up? Where are we headed? So big picture thinking is also a skill that you will need to actually start to demonstrate, such that they can see that you're not just focused on, you're not just at that point where you are told what to do and then you go do it, but you're at that point where you can envision that, oh, if we're going to achieve this goal that we have as an organization, or if we're going to achieve this vision, right, that we're about, then we need to probably start thinking about certain things in this light, right? So data, big picture thinking would be two key things that you need to really be able to drill into. The other one would also be road mapping. So road mapping still kind of ties into big picture thinking, but it's also you being able to really take like all of that big, massive idea that your organization might have, and be able to drill it down and say, we need to start from here, and then we move to this, and then we move to this, and this is why we need this, right? So the more you're able to understand the why, you move from just the how, right? Like you've been told, oh, get this done, and you get it done, right? Execution is like a basic skill for any product manager, being able to gather requirements and execute. I think that's like a fundamental skill. You need to first of all hone that. But for you to go higher in your career, then you need to now be able to think beyond just being told, the how, to actually you now sitting down to think from why, right? Understanding like what's the bigger vision that we're after here, and then being able to drill that down to, the words. The other thing would also be your people skills, because like I said, the product manager you're always interfacing with like multiple people, right? If you're not with legal, you're with data, you're with engineers or design, you're literally going to be interfacing with every single person at one point or the other. And you don't have direct authority over these people, but you need to be able to influence them to get things done, right? So how well you're able to manage people, how well you're able to manage even, the executives, right? Do you understand what each audience that you're speaking with needs to see, and you can sort of present, whatever it is that you need to present to them in that light. So those would be just, some of the things that would help you in growing. But I would say data is oftentimes a big one. And then that ability for you to to think, beyond just the small scope of work that you're used to now having your hands in like multiple things and still seeing how all of those things come together. Yeah. Eniola.
Yeah, thank you very much, Yami. I really appreciate how you're able to really go in depth into that. And just for a bit of context, a lot of the things that Yami is saying right now, regardless of your role, there are skills that you're supposed to have, right? There are skills that you're supposed to have if you want to be able to thrive in any startup. So please, by all means, I really hope that you guys are writing this down. I hope that you're also like dropping your questions on Slido. If you have any questions at all for any of our panelists, just leave it on Slido. By the time we're done asking them questions, then we'll ask them like your specific questions and just get them answered. Now, Ladi, I'm back to you. I want to know if you can walk me through a typical day for a product marketer, like a typical stressful Tuesday.
So I'm always saying this, that product marketing generally is not for lazy people. So if you're a lazy person, if you are someone who is not a creative person, who does not like to solve problems, if you're not a problem solver, you may struggle in marketing, because at the end of the day, a day in your life would be you solving problems every now and then. So typically, just like with the rest of everybody, as an accountant or a lawyer, a product marketer would wake up in the morning and they resume at work. You resume at work. For some people, you check on your campaigns. If you have campaigns that are active, whether they are acquisition campaigns, which is that campaigns that are looking to get new customers or get new people to use a product or get new people to try out the product. You check on those campaigns to see how they're performing. Are they doing well? If they are not doing well, you look at it to say what may be the reasons why these campaigns are not doing well, which is where experimentation ideas come into play, to think around what do we do, what do we tweak, what are the things we need to do to optimize or make these campaigns perform better. When you leave those kind of things, you have conversations with other stakeholders. You have again, your life would also involve you having conversations with other stakeholders. For example, if you notice that you have people coming to your website, to your brands or your business, your startup's website, however, they are not registering, you might need to have a conversation with the product manager or the development team or the engineering team to find out, perhaps is something broken on our website? Was our website available? Did we have the downtime on the website? Is the usability good enough? Can people find the button that they need to use to register? Is the number of forms too much? Is it overwhelming? Is the process complicated? Etc. So you have stakeholder conversations are also part of the things that a day in the life of a product marketing person would involve. Also, ideation would also be part of the things that a day in the life of a product marketing would involve. Thinking around, what do we do? How do I communicate my product proposition? My proposition is what offering that product has to offer, or has to give, or has to make available for the consumer, or for the person that you're looking for as a customer. What can we give them that is unique? What can we give them that is special, that differentiates us from the other competitors in the marketplace, in the category as it is? So ideation would also be something that a product marketer would think about. And then also working with data is also something that you would find in a day of a life of a product marketer. In a day in the life of a product marketer, working with data, looking at what it is, what numbers are here, what are the numbers saying? Is there an anomaly? Is there a surge? Is there an action that is off the roof? Did you notice something that is unusual? What could be the cause? Interpreting data, getting insights, extracting insights from the data as well would also be some of the things. And then these are some of the things that you would find in the life of a product marketer. And one other key thing that you would also find that you become frustrated sometimes. You do everything right, and you don't get expected results. So in those cases, you would realize that you perhaps need to go to the mountain for 7 days or something like that, or go and wash your head at the beach. I'm like, oh man, I've done everything I should, but things aren't working. So, but pretty much, a day in the life of a product marketer would involve you moving from solving one problem to the next problem, pretty much.
Thank you very much, Ladi. Hopefully they don't get to go and wash their head and they just continually optimize as much as possible until they get the desired results, right? Shay, so I'm back to you. I'm really curious about the world of data analysis, right? What would you say are the key factors that you need to succeed in the world of data analysis? Like as a data analyst, what are the key factors that just keep you thriving?
Okay, I believe that so one thing that I've made an important factor in my day-to-day activities is the speed at which data is gotten, right? The one thing most companies try to achieve is automating as best as possible, right? You want to be able to get whatever numbers you want on the fly. And trust me, you're working every day with people in products, marketers, right? And everything is always urgent to them, right? Know this. And I believe that at the early years, right, you're trying to develop your skills to be able to provide accurate figures, right? You want to achieve a certain level of integrity in what you do, right? So you want to be able to be relied upon. So there's that reliability, right? Once you achieve all of that, right, the speed now becomes a factor, right? You want to, so that's why we have several. As a data analyst, you would have there are multiple automation procedures that are running, right? Some call them jobs, right? You have them running that make sure you have required data on the fly, right? So that's an important success factor for me, right? And then being able to identify trends, patterns, and anomalies, right? I mean, there are people, just like Ladi said, right? In his own day-to-day activities, he's checking his own campaigns that were previously running, right? But you as a data analyst, you need to be able to monitor the data that is coming in, right? You need to, you should be able to tell if something is wrong, right? Even before they spot it, right? So that's some level of growth that you should strive for. So I believe those are important factors, right? Speed and then integrity, data integrity, I mean. So those are very important factors.
Very much. I can really see that there are some people that have like some form of questions for you. So get ready to attend to them. Now, Easy, Easy, every other day on Twitter, you see people giving opinions on marketing, on content, on other brands. So what would you say is the biggest controversy you've ever heard about content marketing?
That's a very interesting one. So I'll probably say two things. First of all, is that everybody can do marketing. I think everybody, when certain things happen on timeline. So I mean, you made reference to Twitter. So sometimes we see things that brands do, and everybody has a say. Because I think everybody feels like they can do marketing, which is not it. So I think that's one thing. Everybody feeling like marketing is something that everybody has, can easily do. Meanwhile, there's a lot of technicality, brain work that goes into these things, because I mean, that's why people specialize in these certain roles, right? Because if it wasn't that, everybody might as well go be a marketer. So I think that's one of the things really. Another thing as well, I would say, is striking a balance between authentic storytelling and how do I put this? I think striking like a balance between authentic storytelling and okay, for lack of context, so let me put it like this. So sometimes like you see some things that brands do, and there's an element of storytelling, But sometimes it might not be factually like 100% correct, right? So there's the place of, sorry, please, can you, sorry.
So, Izzy had to pause. So I'm just going to use that opportunity to ask Yami another question. Now, Yami, what would you say was the best experience so far that you had as a product manager?
Okay. I think I would say best experience. Best experience. Okay. Yeah. So I think one thing that comes to mind would be it was also challenging, but I guess it has turned out to be something that I find quite interesting. And it has to do with basically being able to generate insights from data, actually. And so when I first started out, that was like I always make a joke that if I see numbers, I will run, right? Because I'm typically not the person that like math wasn't my favorite subject. So I typically don't like anything that requires that I have to be calculating or dealing with numbers. Eventually, it just looks like everything is flying out of my head. But at some point, we realized that if we were going to grow as an organization, we needed to start really paying attention to data. And we had like all of these systems and structures in place. First, in terms of how we're going to collect data, and then second, in terms of how we would even set up, while we're implementing right things on the product, how we would also set it up such that we're able to make sure that we're collecting what it is that we need to be able to generate those insights. And I would say just being able to do that, right, to be able to see how people are interacting with something that you've done yeah, I think that's one thing that gets me excited when it comes to product, looking at, the insight from data, and maybe also reading like reviews when people use the product, and then basically just talking about how it has changed their lives. I mean, sometimes you think that what you've done is something simple and it's just, this thing that we've put out there. But then when people tell you the impacts, right, on their day-to-day work or their day-to-day lives, it makes a lot of difference. Yeah.
Build for the people. That's the lesson that I'm going to pick up from that. Building for the people. It's always going to keep you happy. Welcome
Yeah.
back, Izzy. So I'm just going to ask
Thank you.
you like another question.
Okay.
Basically, what would you say is the ideal profile for someone who wants to transition into content marketing profile?
Oh, great one, because I transitioned. So an ideal profile. So I think I'm just going to list a few soft and hard skills that I think that anybody who's considering transitioning should should have, right? Some soft skills. I mean, Ladi said something which is very important. If you're somebody who's not very creative and you're also lazy, you'll struggle with marketing, to be honest, because you're always on your 10 toes. So there's that, right? You have to, continuously look for creativity, learn, and improve your creativity is very important, because everything around marketing is creativity, right? So that's also very important. You have to be curious. If you want to be a great marketer, you have to constantly ask the right questions. You have to ask the questions that give you the answers that you're looking for. An example would be sometime in my former job, I was looking at interviewing some customers for an article that I was writing. What I did initially was send them emails with a list of my questions, and they were going to respond via email, right? And I noticed that when they responded via emails, I didn't get the answers that I was looking for, because I felt like it was a bit cumbersome for these people to, give me all the details that I needed via email. So what I did was, after getting their responses via email and it wasn't good enough for me, I put a call to them and I actually scheduled a meeting, right? Where on that call, I asked them the questions again, recorded the call, but this time around, because it was verbal, I got the answers I was looking for because I was also able to, come in where necessary. So, if I wasn't getting the answer, I would probe further. But with getting on a call with them, I was able to actually get the answers that I was looking for. So you have to be very, very curious if you want to succeed in marketing. Another thing that you have to also do is also learn to research. Again, that's how you improve your creativity. You have to learn to research. You have to always be looking out for what other brands are doing, other ways to improve your skills. The things that the things that are trending, now are not the things that are going to trend in, say, a month from now, even next week, right? So you have to constantly be researching, you have to be curious, you have to, always be on the lookout for what is new, what can I do better. There's that. An important one is you have to be someone who pays attention to details. It's very important. Sometimes we see, or sometimes, I'll say myself, sometimes I see copies online, maybe a brand post something and you can tell that they probably didn't pay attention to it. Either maybe sometimes it could be as little as punctuations, right? That is important. So you have to pay attention to detail to be, a successful marketer. Some hard skills that you should, also get as well. Learning how to manage projects. Ladi said something about, managing different campaigns. You're going to at some point manage multiple campaigns at once. So you should be, and with those campaigns, you also want to be tracking them as it goes, right? So you should be able to manage all of these things at once, be able to manage your time as well as managing these products, or rather these projects. To be a great content marketer, right, you also have to know how social media works. So you have to be good at social media as well. Another thing as well is SEO, right? As a content marketer, say you're going to be, writing articles, and all other forms of content, even videos as well. You have to, have core, at least basic understanding of what content of SEO to be able to actually publish and distribute content that actually meets certain goals. So those are things that I think, and from my experience, are things that somebody who's willing to, or somebody who's looking to become a content marketer, either from start or transition to content marketing, should definitely have, before going into that role or, while jumping into that role.
Thank you very much, Lee. You've really, really captured that question very, very well. You've even answered 2 questions in one. Shay, I'm back to you. Probably my last question for you. But what keeps you going as a data analyst? On those frustrating days, especially.
That's an interesting one. What keeps me going? I think I believe it's actually when I would say when product and marketing doesn't come knocking on my door for something. Because if they do, it means something is wrong, right? So what we do as data analysts, right, is to try as best as possible to create dashboard reports where your content marketer, your product marketer, or your product manager can easily go pick up some specific data that they're looking for that they can work with, right? And for me, I would say I consider it a success when they don't have to come back, because it means something is probably broken or there's something we haven't provided yet, right? You can reduce it to a barest minimum, but not to a complete zero, right? So what keeps me going is, for one, creating such dashboards and seeing the relevance and how important it is, right? Making sure they are seeing value in such a dashboard, right? However, of course, there are some things with data constraints, and then, especially things relating to user data, you can't just expose that, anyhow. So there are a lot of factors that we put in place to make sure, okay, yes, we're doing a certain number of things right, but at the same time, we're staying compliant to avoid data breaches and things like that, right? So on a day-to-day, what keeps me going is making sure things are running as smoothly as they can, making other people's work as seamless as possible. Yeah.
Thanks a lot for that, Shay. So I
Hi,
have like one more question.
hi, Eniola.
Sorry, who's that? Yes, hi, Izzy.
So I wanted to also state one thing that I think that, somebody who's looking to, you know, get into content marketing should have, which is very,
Okay.
very important. And I missed out on is you should know how to write, because you are going to write.
Yes.
You're going to write a lot of things. You're going to write script, you're going to write video content, you're going to write articles, you're going to write different kinds of, forms of content, but you are going to write. So learning how to write, understanding how to write, understanding what works is very important as well. So yeah, I just thought to share that.
Thanks a lot, Izzy. That's actually a very important one. In anything content marketing, product marketing, I'm sorry, you're going to know you have to know how to write. Don't think that you're just going to delegate. You also have to supervise whoever it is that is going to write for you, maybe your copywriter or whoever. Now, I have one final question for everyone, right? What advice would you give someone who is interested in starting a linear road? I mean, Izzy has addressed it, Shay has addressed it. So I would want Ladi and Yami to just address the question now. Whoever it is, they don't have any prior tech experience. Probably they're like a bank teller or something. Now, what advice would you give them when they want to get started in either product marketing or product management? We'll start with Yami.
Okay. Yeah, so I would say the first thing is one, maybe owning your communication skill. That would be like one thing. And that's because, I mean, over time, I said like, I probably said you repeatedly, right? That you'll be working with different people. And that ability to communicate, right? Make sure that you're passing the necessary information at the time that you need to get across to the other person is going to be, it will be a very necessary skill. Writing is something that you will do a lot of as well as a product manager, but of course you're not writing for, like in terms of preparing content, but you're writing because you're trying to either sell an idea to executives or you're writing to provide clarity about how something is meant to work to engineers. So just communication, right? Written or spoken, right? Or being able to present, that would be one thing that I would say you need to keep in mind. The other one again would be, I think, just being willing to learn, right? Being willing to just, really devote yourself to the work. It's not, it's not, don't think of product management as, oh, I don't want to code, so I'm just going to come and do this particular role because I feel like I'm not coding, so it's going to be stress free. I started by saying that there are some days when I'm still asking myself, and I've been in products for how many years? 3, 4 years now. And I'm still asking myself, what exactly am I doing? Right. And that's because every single role, whether it's product management, whether it's marketing, whether it's content, whether it's engineering, every single role comes with its own challenges. So if you're picking a role, if you're saying that you want to do this particular thing, then you should have done the work first of all to actually really see if this is something that you see yourself doing for a period of time, right? Of course, there's room for you to pivot and make those changes that you might want to make along the way, but don't pick a role just because it sounds like this is something easy or this is something that I'll just use this as a way to get started. But looking at things from that point of, this is where I envision myself going to, right? This is how I envision my career moving going forward, and then just preparing yourself in line with that. So yeah, communication would be a big thing, and of course I would say that ability to also just be able to tie in things to goals, right? So be able to be able to go granular in your thinking, but also be able to go as wide as might be necessary for you to go as well. I think I'll just peg it as those two for now.
Thank you very much, Yami. Ladi, over to you. Just to repeat the question, what advice would you give someone who is interested in starting in product marketing and this person does not have any prior tech experience?
Okay, so the first advice I'll give is know that you have passion for it. Now there are some things that can help your landing into product marketing. For me, I have my background in sciences. I studied zoology in my first degree, and but one of the things that studying zoology helped me on was my asking question skills. I'm a very curious person as an individual, so I do a lot of research. I'm curious about humans. I'm curious about behavior, and so these were some of the things that I had in it already in me. So um, building a career in marketing helped me settle in because these are some things that I liked doing. Now, so the first thing I would say is that you need to find out what do you like. Now, don't just say I want to start product marketing, I want to start marketing. No. What do you like? What are the things you like to do now? There's some people who you may like numbers. You just have knack for numbers. You're happy to see numbers. It's something that you're comfortable with. Now you product marketing might be for you, but it might be on the analytical part and not the creative part. So you can look at what are the things you like to do. Are you a creative person? Are you the kind of person who you see something and then you can describe with beautiful detail whatever you're seeing? Are you that kind of person? Are you that kind of person who you are always wanting to solve problems? Are you that kind of person who you're happy to own projects and drive them end to end? Are you that kind of person? So you need to know the kind of things that you like. Uh, First things first, because that would let you know, or that would inform you if pursuing a career in product marketing is for you or not. Because there are days that you'll be frustrated. There are days where things will be tough. That passion, residual at the background, is what will keep you going on those days. And the honest truth is that because it's life, you would have more of those days than days when you have big wins. So, but on those days that you have frustrations, on those days when you're pulling things and they're not working, because you have passion for it, because you like doing it, those are the things that will keep you going. So you check what you like, first things first, check what you are drawn towards, check what you are happy to do. Generally, as a human, do you like people? Are you a people person? Do you like to relate to people? Are you comfortable understanding people, understanding consumers, understanding why people do what they do, understanding working with numbers? You are the kind of person who someone is talking about uh, a story, and then what you're thinking around is you're looking at the numbers. How can we use this number to do something? So you need to look at it. Are you an analytical person? Are you a creative person? You need to ask yourself those questions. And when you find those things out, the first thing I would say is find now because the entry barrier has been broken, has been opened up, getting into product marketing, getting into marketing has been lowered in a way that anyone can get into marketing. Now, the problem is, can they stay in marketing? That's always one problem I see, because people find out that, oh, this thing, I can't, my soul cannot carry it, so I have to leave. So find a marketing course now. And I say this all the time, if you're interested in product marketing, yes, don't just find a product marketing course, find a marketing course. Understand the basics and the tenets of marketing, the groundwork for marketing, so that when you now do a product marketing course, you have a broader perspective to whatever you're doing. Because a lot of times people get into marketing, learning digital marketing, learning product marketing, and eventually they get into product marketing, learning that, and eventually you realize the disconnect in the knowledge gap. So my advice would be find an online marketing course that just talks about marketing, be open-minded. Also, when you take this course, ask yourself, do I like what I'm hearing? Does it look like something I want to practice? Does it look like something I want to do? Now, then you can now proceed to take a product marketing course. I know Treford has a product marketing course. There are a lot of course providers you can reach out to, take a product marketing course. After taking this product marketing course, now, at that stage, you can now begin to look for internship opportunities where you get your hands dirty, where you take on projects. Now, and I say this all the time, when people finish learning, they say, oh, I've not seen a job, I don't know what to do. Now, I tell them this, I say this all the time. I said, a lot of us have friends who are running small businesses. Reach out to them on your WhatsApp. Talk to them, oh, you know what, and I just learned product marketing. Can I get my hands dirty with your business? Is it possible? If they need to sign an NDA, get it signed, get your hands dirty now. That's one thing that you can hold and say that, oh, I've done this project in the last 3 months, I've done this project in the last 6 months, even before you quit your payday job or your 9 to 5 or your previous career. And then you can now hold that to say, oh, this is this was what I was able to do while I was working on this project. And that way you can begin to build a portfolio, begin to build your profile, begin to get your hands dirty, begin to gain some valuable experiences that will be useful to you to get in the big bag at some point in your career. Pretty much that.
Thank you very much, Daddy. You really captured everything. I just wanted to make like a last note before I hand over to Trevor, to Favor for the Q&A session. So every single panelist here. Oh, Shay, you have something else to say? Shay, you have your hand raised.
Yes. I was thinking the baton would have been passed to me to talk about getting started in data analytics.
My apologies. Please, go ahead.
Okay. So I think just like any other new field you're trying to pivot to, and just like Laia said, you need to do some sort of research, right? Do your own research. See if what you're reading or what you're hearing applies to you or sounds appealing to you. You know, that's the first step, right? And you should also be open-minded towards some certain things. And when you do that and you finally want to start learning the out skills, I believe it's best to draw out a learning path, right? And because what most people do is they end up overloading themselves with information, and then they get overwhelmed, and then they end up dropping the course, right? And sometimes I don't blame them. Usually I blame the tutors, because people without this experience, they are trying to learn, right? It's best to start from the relatively easier parts, right? So more often than not, I recommend Excel, starting off with Excel, starting off with then moving on to SQL, then visualization tools like Tableau or Power BI, right? Because Excel is the foundation. Then SQL is what will help you with more thorough analysis, right? And then, of course, what you still have is numbers and jargon, right? So, but you need to be able to visualize that into something more appealing, right? That's why we use visualization tools like Power BI or Tableau, right? And when I say don't get overwhelmed with a lot of information, right? Don't overload yourself with that. It's because a lot of the tools that are out there, if you talk with some people, right, they want you to learn everything all at once. I don't recommend that, because some of these tools, the knowledge it's easily transferable, right? You can pass on. There's knowledge transfer from Power BI to Tableau, right, and vice versa. So if you learn one, you can easily get your hands dirty on the other ones. And I mean, when I started off, I learned Tableau, and then I just chose to pick up Power BI, and I just tried to replicate a project I did on Tableau, exactly the same on Power BI. And
anybody here, Shay, or is it just me?
Am I still audible?
Okay.
I can hear Shay.
Mine is breaking.
I can hear Shay. Shay, please go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, but I can't hear you.
Oh, that's strange. Okay. So yeah. And then once you do all of that, right? And I always try to let people know that you would get frustrated at some points, because as with anything with learning, there's that part where you feel, oh, you're not doing something right, or you're not getting something right, and it becomes challenging, it becomes frustrating, right? It's normal, right? Reach out to someone, ask questions, do your research, extra research, to try and solve that problem, right? And then you just move on, get past that stage, get past that auto, onto the next one, right? So because what most people do is, data analysts are collecting $1 million a year, and then that's their motivation for picking up that, right? If that's your motivation, you might end up dropping the course along the way, right? No offense, right? So what you need to do, you have to have the right motivation towards learning the skill. That's what's going to push you when things get difficult, okay? And then finally, for me, I believe after having all the skills, right, what really makes a data analyst for me is being able to ask business questions, right? So you need to understand the business, right? You need to be more familiar with the products just as much as a product owner, right? You need to understand the business in total, right? And then being able to answer word problems. Just the same way we have word problems and quantitative reasoning, those are actually how the problems come. People just ask you, oh, we need the average number of these that do this and that, right? Being able to just understand that and interpret it. Interpretation matters in data analytics. Once you can develop that, that is what makes you grow, right? Once you can develop that, that's really what defines you as a data analyst.
Thank you very much, Shay, and thank you very much, everyone. I think it's everybody has said really, really valid things. And I think just one thing that I would just like to add, in addition to what everyone has said, is just that if you are someone who is driven, if you're someone who is passionate about whatever career path that you choose, it will be very easy for you to succeed in that path, right? You should always be someone who is focused on learning. Don't ever feel like I'm the yoga or anything. We have a lot of senior people here. Lad is a senior marketing manager, very, very senior. In fact, Yami is a senior manager. Easy is very senior, right? These are senior people that they will never tell you that, oh, I'm done learning, I'm the yoga now. I can only teach people. No. If they see somebody that they can learn something from, they will always learn. So don't ever stop that thirst for knowledge. Always be interested in learning. Always chase that knowledge. Don't let it chase you. Don't let someone come and meet you and say that, oh, okay, this is what you're supposed to do. If there's something you don't understand, always find someone to teach you. Look for a mentor. Let that person be the one to like try to guide you. Again, mentors are very good because sometimes people start to go to other people's DMs and you start telling them, I want you to be my mentor because I want you to start showing me how I'm supposed to go about life. No, you're supposed to be updating your mentor, like, oh, this is what I want to do. Okay, this is the path I'm supposed to follow. And then your mentor will just give you tips that, okay, these are some books that you can read that will help you succeed in this role. But over everything, if you're passionate and you actually sit down to learn whatever like the course that you choose on Trustworks, I'm very certain that you're definitely going to make it. You're definitely going to succeed. And with that being said, I'm handing over to Vivon now so that he can go through the Q&A session.
All right. Thank you very much, Eniola. Please let's put our hands together for Eniola. She's done a very wonderful job conversation. And we have just about 20 minutes left on this call just to go through the Q&A section. Thank you so much, Eniola. Eniola, it's been a great conversation. And thank you very much to our panelists for answering the question and having a very delightful conversation. Yes, there's a lot of questions, and I've encouraged each and every one of us again, please, all your questions, drop them on Slido. We're going to Slido now to pick all the questions that has been asked. I've been going through a couple of them while the call has been going on, and we're going to be answering the questions that have been put on Slido. There's a lot of questions coming in the chat box. We won't be able to address everything, but there's one particular one that I've seen on Slido, and I've seen on Slido, and I have seen it on the chat box as well, which is asking if the program is free. The program is not free, but it is highly subsidized by Pay For Me. It is highly subsidized by Pay For Me. So if you're interested, you can always apply, and you can always follow Treford or Pay For Me on our different platforms to learn more about this. The Treford Pay For Me Nocotech incubation program, is helping people learn Nocotech skills across 7 different career paths, ranging from product management to product marketing, content marketing, data analytics, UX writing. What I did was there again, I can't remember for the life of me now, but that is UX writing. And I think my colleague will help me type the remaining in the chat box while I recall them. But yes, so the next questions we have, we have a lot of questions here, but there are 2 questions that have jumped out, both on the chat and on Slido. And Yami and Shay, I want you to answer this question in a quick fire way. 30 seconds, 1 minute. A lot of people have been asking what's the difference between product management and project management. That's for Yami. Then for Shay, a lot of people have also been asking questions here on what's the difference between business analyst and data analyst. So Yami and Shay, do you want to give this a shot?
All right, sure. So the difference really is a product manager, right, within the context of, say, an organization that has a product, is thinking about things from start to finish. So earlier on, for instance, I mentioned, things like big picture thinking. I mentioned road mapping. There's, the part where you're also doing research and trying to gather insights from data and things like that. But typically, a project manager is focused on releasing something, right? Like getting something out. So let me use Zoom, for instance. If Zoom decides that they want to say they want to make it possible for people to be able to come back and rewatch like recorded sessions on Zoom, right? And that's something that they want to, get out there. Now, depending on how the organization is structured, you could have a product manager whose responsibility it is to kind of really understand how would this thing work, right? How would this particular feature that Zoom is looking to enable work? Who are the people that we're targeting? Possibly even down to, are we going to charge for this, right? What would pricing look like? Is this something we can make money off of? Also, then looking at when exactly can we get this, to go live. But you might then have a project manager who kind of takes it on to then say, oh, we can work on this thing. That's by work here, I mean engineers can like actually start implementing. So say from the 1st of this month to the 14th of this month, right? So typically a project manager is working on, let's get something done, right? For a product manager, you never really get to that spot where you're like done, because by the time the product goes live, there's a new batch of work that you need to start paying attention to. But the project manager's work really is, we want to get this thing out. These are the things that we've been said we need to make sure it caters for, and then this is the time that it needs to go live. Who are the people that I'm working with? Let's get to work, right? So in some cases, a product manager, actually in most cases, a product manager would also still do project management, right? Just to set your expectations. There are not very many organizations where you have somebody else who is doing project management separate from product. In a number of cases, you would actually have the product manager handling both the project part of things and holistically thinking about the product itself as well.
All right, thank you very much, Yami. Quickly to Shay, business analyst, data analyst.
Okay, so to a very large extent, a business analyst and a data analyst, the roles are intertwined in some way, right? I've seen business analysts that use SQL, that use R, Python, right? However, their focus is different, right? So business analysts typically ask business questions. They are more focused on how the business is run. They're focused on processing improvements, change management, things like that, problem solving, identifying where there's an issue with the business in general, right? While the focus for data is more of data manipulation, visualization, just identifying trends and patterns, right? And then in some cases, which is now tilting towards the data science bits, is predictive modeling, right? So you're trying to predict what some numbers would be in the future, in the nearest future, right? So pretty much, right, data analysts focus on reporting, and sometimes they do reports to business analysts, right? So with data, right? While a business analyst is more focused on things that would improve the business, right? They ask the business questions, they identify the challenges and what can be done to improve them.
All right, thank you very much. There's a lot of questions here. I see somebody asking the difference between a product manager and a product designer. On a summary and high level, a designer will design a product, the interfaces, the user interfaces, the user experience, and all of those things. While a product manager, like Brent today, manages the life cycle of a product. But if you'd like to know more about product design, UX writing, and quality assurance, which are the other 3 career paths available in this incubator program, you can join us at our next panel session that will be happening on Tuesday night from 7 p.m. West African time. The links and the details will be sent across to your email. So I'll take this off there. Okay, there's this question. I think we've addressed this as well. How do you measure the impact of your role in meeting business requirements? What factors do you consider? I think this is a bit out of scope, but Ladi, I don't know if you just want to address this in one or two, just a couple of seconds.
Okay, so just quickly, it's important that whatever role you are playing in, it's important that you tie your activities to the business goals. Now, at the beginning of the year, every business decides we want to make a business is set up to make money. So every business decides they want to make $100 million this year, want to make $1 million this year, want to make $50 million this year. So now the way you tie your own role in the business is what are the things that I can do within my job description or even a bit out of my job description that can contribute to making this 5 million naira or saving the business $10 million. So literally look at those things and now put a number to it. Now, if I'm able to do this, some people work as senior roles, but if you are entry, because this conversation is for entry level people, most of the time you need to talk to your line manager to tell you what are the goals for the business this year or this quarter or this half year, and what goals do you recommend that I set for myself, or what numbers. Now, in terms of goal setting, some people use OKRs, that's objectives and key results. Some people use KPIs, key performance indicators. So basically, you need to look at the numbers that help you, that tie directly, the actions that you take that contribute directly into that big business goal. Analyze that, understand that, and put numbers behind it. Now, if I go to a market 10 times in a week, does that mean that the business can make 1 million? If yes, then your KPI would be that going to the market 10 times in a week. Now, if I wake up 10 times in a month and they save the business $550 US, and that's the business goal. That means that waking up 10 times in a week can be your KPI, or waking up 5 times in a week or 3 times in a week can be your KPI. So you need to look at the business goal. What is the business trying to achieve this year? I say this all the time. Whether you work in product marketing or product manager, whatever role you work in, especially when you work in a tech startup, the first thing you should do when you join a company is to ask, what are our goals for this year? Now, a lot of times, these companies don't have goals. They don't even know their own goals. That's the honest truth. So you need to ask, you need to insist, what are we working towards this year? You need to know. So once you know that, you can now say that, okay, based on my job, based on the things that I can do, based on the things that are part of my scope, what are the things that I can do that would contribute to this goal of the business? So those things are the things you put a number behind, and it becomes your own personal objectives or your own personal results that you are going to be tracking week on week, month on month, quarter on quarter, half year, and at the end of the year. Cheers.
All right, thank you very much, Ladi, once again. We can tick that off done. I've just scrolled through the questions, and as you can all see, a ton of these questions are all asking for product management skills and tools and all of those things. So Yami, I did like 3 questions on product management skills. I know you've answered this question during the course of the conversation, but let's just do it this way. Give us 5 top skills for product managers, like 5 top skills to help you excel in your career, to help you grow in your career, and just give us 3 tools you use on a day-to-day as a product manager. And I think to answer all the questions on skills.
All right. So for skills, I think one thing I'd mentioned earlier is communication. So communication here being both oral and written. You need to have like good writing skills because you'll be writing a lot, providing like different kinds of documents, and people should be able to read and understand what you're writing. Another one would be road mapping and visioning, like I said. So being able to think like big picture, being able to really take so just taking a leaf from what Ladi had said, looking at this is our goals, right, as a business for the year. How does the product tie into this? What would it look like in this quarter, in 3 months, 6 months, right, in a year, and even beyond a year, right? So being able to really break down that big vision that the organization has into smaller plans. Another would be prioritization. One thing that you would find as a product manager is you're never going to be short of ideas, right? You always have people who are coming with different ideas within the organization, from your customers, in terms of how things are even changing, you would never be short of ideas. But what you will always be short of is you don't have enough time, and you never have all the resources that you need. So you need to be able to prioritize, right? And in prioritization, you want to be paying attention to what's the thing that we can do that will give us the best effort and give us the best results, right? Like ultimately help us achieve the most in terms of what we're trying to achieve. Another would be data. So being able to generate insight from data and being able to make sure that, like, understanding the system that you need to put in place, right? To say we need to collect this data so that ultimately we can look into these things at the end of the day and say, yes, the work that we've done is working or is not working. Another would be quality assurance. You might have a QA person who is responsible for, testing and making sure that things work as well as they should, but you are ultimately responsible for the product, right? And your excuse cannot be that you released a buggy product because the QA person didn't do their work. So you also have a responsibility to make sure that whatever it is you are putting out in the market works as well as they should, and you're touching base with like every single person. And you can also think of the quality assurance in terms of, have you done whatever legal work, right, needs to be done for that product to even be live? So liaising with like legal and compliance. Yeah, I think I've covered 5.
Yes, thank you very much. So now
Tools.
3 tools. Yeah, just 3.
Tools. So I think for a product manager, right, they're not fixed tools, to be honest, because you can't say that like a designer that has to use maybe like Figma or whatnot, but it would depend on what you're doing. So for me, I use Figma for wireframing and drawing user flows. We use Linear for project management, although the engineering team members are like more responsible for that, but Linear for project management. And then for visualizing data, so for front-end data, we use PostOrg. And that just allows me to be able to visualize like how people are moving through, the experience on the front end. But roughly speaking, you might need road mapping tools, you might need tools for wireframing, you might need tools for project management. What's the other one? For data visualization, for maybe gathering feedback. Some of these things, to be honest, you can also use like a number of the Google Suites tools that you find available, or maybe even using more sophisticated docs like Notion and Coda these days, right? So those would be some things that you can work with.
Yes. All right. Thank you very much, Yami. We're going to go to Shay now. And so I see a lot of questions that are I will encourage you to join the program, apply for the program, and when you get to the program, some of those questions get answered. There are a lot of in-depth questions as regards, how to manage, determine timeline of tasks, all of those things. I think when you get into the program, these are the things we have highlighted on the curriculum for those that are going to be product managers that are going to be answering, and those are the things you're going to be learning. But quickly for Shay, there are 2 questions here I just wanted to address quickly. They're on getting opportunities and the role of Python in data analytics. Getting opportunities for data analysts and role in Python for data analytics. Can we just address those 2 questions?
Okay. So getting opportunities in data analytics, I would say to a very large extent, you just need the person, it's usually, right? I know people go through the challenge of getting that first gig, right? That paves the way for them to, climb up the ladder, right? But I believe applying for internship roles are next to the easiest ways, to get that, right? Because you can, even if an opportunity is not there, you can reach out to recruiters or top people in the analytics field, right? Ask for opportunities in an internship role, right? If people feel they don't need to spend money, probably gives them some extra motivation to listen to you, right? So you would need to shoot your shots to a number of recruiters. That's one. You can also attempt. I also attempted trying Upwork or trying any of these what are they called now? Those websites to get to try jobs, right? Those can help you. Yeah, it can help you in terms of getting funds, finances, but it also helps you with experience, right? You get to work with a number of data that you're unfamiliar with, so it gives you that leverage to say, oh, okay, you have done this and this with so and so data that gives, and it helps you with your confidence level as well, right? So you need to build up your confidence, right, to get those opportunities, right? But you also need to make an attempt at shooting your shots to recruiters. So another question would be the role of Python in data analytics. So I would use this to answer two questions, which is also the difference between data science and data analytics. So for Python, right, I initially mentioned Excel, SQL, then the visualization tools like Power BI and Tableau, right? But for Python, Python is when you're getting to the semi-advanced stages, right? And you realize that, there are some business questions I cannot, or I'm finding difficult to answer with the previous skills I've learned. That's where Python comes in, right? You also realize, oh, okay, some things are just easier when I do them on Python, right? So that's where Python comes in, because and then you get to realize this as soon as you begin to work with some certain data, right? There's some questions you get asked that you would need to run some processes, and then you just know, okay, I need to try Python out, and this will probably give me better results. Or a faster way of approaching it, right? And you realize that what most data scientists use is Python, or maybe why? Because they are running predictive models. So the difference between data analytics and data science is that, I personally say they all fall under the data analytics brackets, right? But then there are distinguished fields, right? Where data science, there's also data engineering, just in case you're unaware, right? What they do, right? A typical data analyst, right, are more on the granular level, the basics, right? Cleaning, manipulating data, and then visualizing their results, right? Creating charts and reports, right? That's what a typical data analyst would do. But a data scientist is looking at current data and trying to run predictions of that current data to get values for the future. So say we have users that just signed up on a new app, right? A data analyst would, on an app, for example, a data analyst would want to know, oh, how many users signed up today? Was their basic things, their biodata, gender, their email address, phone number, or do they have their BVN, NIN, as if it's a financial organization, for example. But for a data scientist, a data scientist will be looking at the possibilities of a user churning, and churning would mean, oh, would this user stop using this app in another 6 months, right? That's what a data scientist will be focused on, right? So they already have models that will be centered around those predictive values that you're looking for, right? So if you now say, okay, this user will not be using our app in another 6 months for this reason, right? You can then push that to marketing to further engage them, to make sure they continue using the app, so that they don't have any reason to leave. That's just one of the basics. There's also segmentation, there's monetization. There's a lot of them that a data scientist would do. So pretty much the difference is one focuses on the present, and then which is reporting, right? While the other one focuses on prediction, right? While a data engineer is more in tune with migration of data and keeping the data clean, right? So a data engineer would pick a data from the mobile app, for example, where the data is hosted on production, and then push that data to the data warehouse. Why data warehouse is because sometimes running analytics can be very powerful. So it's best to just migrate that data to another place, right? And then run your analytics on there, right? So there are different, when you get into that field, right? Those are advanced or semi-advanced to advanced levels of the analytics field, right? But then take it from the granular level first. Excel, SQL, then visualization.
Thank you very much. That was really extensive. And I was going to say, at some point, you're going to start losing some people. You're already going into the depth of what you'll be learning in the different sessions. So, but thank you very much there. Thank you very much for that there. So we can answer all questions. I see a lot of people have questions. I thank you for answering all questions. I have just two more questions that I want to answer. I've seen like 2 or 3 questions here popping up on design, transitioning from design and product management, building portfolio design, product management. So, and I know Yami, you had a design background. So Yami, you just answered this one question. One tip for somebody who is previously a designer trying to transition into a product manager. Just one tip for the person. And we'll round up the panel session with a last word from Elizabeth. Izzy. As we round up the panel session, she just give us one word to advise everyone that is trying to apply for the program, how they can get started in the different career paths, how they can just grow in no-code career paths. So Yami, you go. We will then take Izzy and then we'll round it off there and we'll call it a day. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. So I would say that there's this, I don't know if you probably would have seen it, but there's like this depiction that's often given for what a product manager does. And it's out that it's a fusion of UX or design, business and tech, right? So as a designer, and I think this also goes back to one of the things that had been said earlier on in the call, which is understanding where you're even coming from, right? So there's no knowledge that you have that is wasted, regardless of what field you're transitioning into. And so the first thing you would actually need to do is understand what skills do I have that can be transferred into this new role that I'm going into. So a designer who is transitioning to product management, I would say that to a very large extent, you probably would already have the UX part of things. You'll probably be quite solid in that area, right? Because you've been doing design for some period of time. And that's already one asset that you have, right? That you can always start with. The other thing would then be that you're probably not as strong in the areas that have to do with business and tech. And that would most likely be the areas that you then need to sort of double down on. So I would say one is understanding what you already have, which is the design skill that you already have. You're already function in a product team. And so you already have some base skills, right, that you can start with. And it's just understanding. The only difference is now you're not the designer. So you also need to switch from acting as the person who is the designer, so you don't annoy the person that is actually the designer, right? Understand the skills that you're coming with. And then the next thing would be realizing that you need to double down on the areas that have to do with business and technology. So technology here being that you need to get comfortable with engineering, right? You need to get comfortable with understanding the work that they do, providing them with the necessary information or skills that they might need to do whatever it is that they need to do. And then when it comes to the business part of things, as a product manager, one thing that your success in product is actually quite tied to how well the business is doing. You almost sometimes cannot separate the two, because especially in the times that we're in now, the product is the business, right? They are not necessarily like two separate things. So you need to be able to understand the business model, understand how the business works, right? And how the product works, and just really being able to figure out these are the metrics that matter, these are the outcomes that are very important. And then really taking every other thing and saying, how do we drive these outcomes, right, that we have as a business? Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Yami. Over to you, Izzy.
Hi, guys. Thanks again. So I think everybody here has actually said, a lot of things that I feel people should take back home. And I'm hoping that a lot of people have, written down things so you can always go back and remember them. But again, to wrap up, I think one of the important things I would just highlight is, again, like Ladi said, find some, figure out what you're passionate about, right? It's very important, because that's pretty much the driving force for what you're doing. So find what you're passionate about, and then, go after it, right? Another important thing as well, if you want to go further in your career, is be ready to do the work. Be ready to put in the work. Be ready to think outside the box. Be ready to do a bit more than your job description requires for you, right? I think that's important. A lot of times people just want to stick with, oh yeah, this is what my job requires me. Yes, I'm fine with that. I'm going to do that, and that's about it, right? Sometimes it's important to go the extra mile because that's the difference between person A and person B, right? The person who goes the extra mile. So that's very important. Another thing as well, get the relevant education. I mean, thank God for bodies like Treford. It's important to get those ready. So if it's short courses, long courses, be sure that you have the fundamental knowledge that you need to do whatever it is that you have to do. Another thing, for marketing especially, it's a very multifaceted field, right? That requires a lot of things. So get the skills that you need to get, soft skills, hard skills, ensure that you're well equipped, right? Another thing as well is join a community. It's very important. You get to see like-minded people. You get to talk to people who are, probably in the same phase in their career as you are. That's also important. So join a community. In said communities, you can also get to talk to people who are more advanced than you. When you have, issues or, problems, you can run to them and say, hey, this is what I'm dealing with. How can I move forward from here? So joining community is important to have people who do the same thing with you, moving the same direction. I think another thing is, I don't know who it was, but somebody mentioned, I think it was like that said, you have people, people who have small businesses, right? Things like that. For somebody who's in marketing, you can definitely tell your friends, say, hey, let me manage your social media for 3 months, right? Take that upon yourself, let me grow this business or this, social presence from X to Z, right? So do those things, those little things that you do, you can add it to your portfolio. Nobody's going to come and ask you if you did it for free or if you were paid for it, or get all the necessary, practical experiences that you need to get, whether it's by internships, volunteering, side gigs, freelancing, whatever it is. All those things are, important things that would definitely be in your portfolio and would actually help you land the big jobs that you're looking for. Yeah, those are all the little nuggets that I think we should all go home with. But yeah, thank you very much, everyone, for your time. I enjoyed being here again.
Thank you so much once again, Easy, and to every single panelist. Please make sure to go to the link, the Slido link, once again, to share your feedback about the session with us. And I just want everyone in the chat, everyone who has attended the call today, just to say a big thank you in the chat box to all our panelists, from Easy to Sheyi to Ladi to Yami, and most of all, our moderator for the conversation, Eniola. Thank you so much, everyone. We have enjoyed having you on this call. Thank you very much. With that, we come to the end of this call. I see a couple of questions. If you have any questions, please make sure to reach out to us at admissions@treford.africa. We'll be there to answer any of your questions. We are done with the call today, and the recording will be made available on our YouTube channel. You can always check Treford on our YouTube channel. And once again, I want to remind you, if you want more details about this program, you want to follow up on what is going on about this program, make sure to follow make sure to follow Treford and Pay for Me on our different social media platforms. I'm going to be sharing the links to our different social media platforms once again in the chat, so you can always stay abreast of what is going on the program. Thank you very much once again, everyone, for joining the call. Come to the end of the call. Thank you very much, and you have a great rest of the day ahead of you. Thank you. Thank you once again, panelists.
All right. Bye.